right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies might have inspired it. And today on the show, we are getting into the drama starring Zendaya and Robert Pattinson. Really excited to talk about this one. Joining me is Paul Hibbard. It was a great conversation, lots of great puzzle pieces to get into, and with a film that has sparked so much conversation and debate, it was a fun thing to really kind of dig into and get into some of our thoughts on this one. So that's coming up here in a second. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you are subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod, and don't forget to join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And with that said, let's talk about the drama. Paul Hibbard is back with us. We're going to get into some crazy drama and spill some tea. How's it going, Paul?
Great. How you doing, David?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to talk about this one. This should be a can of worms of a movie to talk about, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of film, I think, whether you love it or hate it, it brings up a lot of topics. I've even heard people who hate it and think the film is handling things irresponsible, but then they just keep talking about it and they talk about why they're handling irresponsibly. So I think it's a film, no matter what, it's touching on things that, brings on conversations.
Absolutely. And isn't that the whole point of a movie like this? So it's weird to engage with a movie and say that it's bad, but at the same time, it's arising all these conversations, which that is literally the point. So it's succeeding in what it set out to do. So yeah, it's weird. But then of course you're dealing with touchy subjects. So it's things that there's some movies like this where the subject matter itself is something where immediately people are turned off by it. And so it's understandable. But at the same time, I think we both come from a place where I know we both like this movie a lot. And so I'm excited to talk about it. But let's start getting into puzzle pieces. And of course, it'll be impossible to avoid some of the particulars about the story along the way. So spoiler alert, although I should say really quick, it's not really a spoiler to talk about the inciting incident here. It's kind of stupid that it was set up as a spoiler, but whatever.
Let me actually ask, did you know it going into it?
I did. I had it, quote unquote, spoiled for me weeks and weeks before the movie came out from someone who saw it at a test screening. So I knew exactly what the thing was.
Okay.
But I don't think that affected my enjoyment at all.
No, I went in not knowing anything, and I loved it, but I also think the moment it's revealed is just such a well-done, well-directed scene that even if you knew it, I think it would have hit you the same way.
Sure, exactly. Yeah. So let's go to puzzle pieces. What do you got first?
Okay, the first one I have, I think, is a very obvious one, except it's not very well known. But it's the kind of film that if you've seen it, I think it's very obvious to the point where I'm pretty sure it was somewhat of an influence. And it's the film Sleeping Dogs Lie. Have you seen this one? It's a Bobcat Goldthwait film.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have it on yours?
I did not put it on my list, and I can't believe I didn't, because that's a perfect one to start with.
Yeah, and it's the kind of film. I would even expand it to say all of Bobcat Goldthwait's filmography. He is such an incredible director who kind of hit us at a time when we weren't really getting films like that in romantic films. When you think of World's Best Dad or World's Greatest Dad, the one with Robin Williams.
Sure.
The whole one about the son who killed himself by masturbating while hanging himself, and his father had to write the suicide note for it. But to get back to this specific one, Sleeping Dogs Lie, it is about a couple, and one of them reveals another one essentially their darkest secret. And their darkest secret is that they've blown a dog in the past. Yeah. And then it's obviously ripe for a lot more humor, but it also kind of gets at a lot of the things that the drama does, because what she did about planning a mass shooting. I can't remember if you even said that yet. That's the thing. But she, the Emma character, she plans a mass shooting, and she was young enough that I think you can forgive the actual action. And I think the bigger conflict is this who she is as a person? And it becomes it's seeped in more to I guess her character, and that's what Charlie has the problem getting past with her, because there's a lot of times where she even apologizes the next day for what she did, and he gives a reaction like, you don't need to apologize. It's not about something you did, it's about who you are, and maybe you can't control that. And Sleeping Dogs Lie, it was the first thing I thought of. And when they're doing the confession scene, when Mike brings up the dog part of it, which the story is he ends up using his girlfriend as a human shield against a dog.
Yeah.
Charlie even says, "Did you fuck a dog?"
Yeah.
And like, so there was like a direct, when he said that, I was like, he has to have at least seen that movie. So that felt like a pretty direct connection to me.
I love that. And you know what I love also about this puzzle piece here is that it essentially gets to like kind of the thesis of this movie, the drama, in that blowing a dog is way worse than just thinking about a school shooting and not, but and so the idea of this movie being about that idea of like, is it worse to have like thought about, considered something versus doing something? Like we get to Alana Haim's reveal, and like what she did is far worse than just thinking about, but of course she's super judgmental, and like that's like a major thing that I think is on this movie's mind. And I think it's just funny with Sleeping Dogs Lie as a puzzle piece here, which is perfect, but like that's an example of like somebody actually doing the terrible thing. So
exactly.
Yeah, great stuff to kick this off with. I will go with let's see. I'm not sure what order to go in. I'm gonna go with Materialists for my first one here, from a couple years ago. And I just realized Dakota Johnson is the star of two of my puzzle pieces here. But a movie that is very much about like kind of the performative nature of dating, but also of everything right now, of being a person in this world, and worrying so much about what people are going to think, and like making your image exactly how you want to make it, and like trying to really like kind of get everything to be so perfect, and nobody can like touch anything that you do or say, or your social media presence, or any of that stuff. And that like factors so much into this this movie that's all about dating with Materialists, and factors in here with, again, the fact that Robert Pattinson's character is really, when it comes down to it, I think much more worried about what people will think about him marrying this person, because as you said, he says that next morning, like, hey, you didn't do anything wrong necessarily. Like, it's okay. I love you. But like, then those outside things start creeping in and start like kind of infecting his thoughts about the whole situation. And so it's that whole performative nature of everything that I think really kind of ties these two together in a way.
Yeah, and actually had Materials also as a piece. And everything you said, I signed off on. I was going to say, the only other thing I would add to that is one thing I loved about Materialists, which I know a lot of people did not like, because the dialogue felt very stilted and almost performative.
Sure.
And what I loved about Materialists is it felt like this is what life would be like if they acted in real life, how they act online.
Sure.
And I kind of feel like this is the same thing. Like, I think there possibly is a situation where if Emma would have confessed that to Charlie earlier, it was just the two of them, he probably would have wrestled with it a little bit, but it wouldn't have been such a big deal. It was such a big deal because Rachel exacerbated the whole thing with her reaction, and that sort of is that herd mentality that happens online.
Yeah.
And it needs to get to a place where they eventually, obviously we get into spoilers, but at the very end, they get to this place where their reconciliation, I think, is them just accepting that they have to stop thinking about what everyone else thinks, and they have to like really understand each other. And I've heard that's one of the criticisms I heard about this film is people say, oh, well, if they just had an adult conversation, then they could have got past that. But if people act how they act online, no one's really having adult conversations.
Of course not. Yeah.
Herd mentality and stuff like that always build up. So yes, that's a really good piece too, and I thought of it.
Right on.
But I guess to go to another one though, just to piggyback off your piece and to name another one, this one will be pretty quick. It's the same points that I have for the first one, but I thought of it, and it's Ruben Östlund's Force Majeure, which is a film about a husband who acts in a very cowardly way during a natural disaster, and the natural disaster misses them, and he does it in this impulsive like moment of fear. And it's almost forgivable, but the same thing. It's like, oh, this is who you are. You're the kind of person who won't protect your family, and it just hangs over the whole film.
That's a good one. Yeah, I didn't love that movie. I like his other movies more, but that being said, like I hadn't thought of that, and that is a great piece here, and definitely speaks to how Robert Pattinson's character Charlie like deals with the whole situation, just a total coward about everything. And that's great. I like that a lot. I will go with a movie, speaking of contentious films that people either hate or very few love. But I'll go with Malcolm and Marie, the
Ooh.
Zendaya starring and John David Washington drama about a relationship falling apart, all set in one location, all just basically these two screaming at each other for 2 hours straight. Of course, the Zendaya of it all kind of ties in together. I actually like this movie. I know most people really, really hate it, but it's, wears its influences on its sleeve. Obviously, going scenes from a marriage and possession and like all these different things of relationships falling apart. But I like how modern it feels in the moment of relationships. Like, again, to bring it back to Materialists, it feels like people of this particular era, and kind of getting that like kind of inside look into those people just absolutely going at it with each other. And the drama, you get that to a degree, but it's more kind of again, everybody wants to kind of save face at some point, and so they're not really going all the way there. But I feel like if you want to see Zendaya like just open up on her partner, that's the version of this.
Yeah. Can I ask? Because I didn't love that movie either. But I one thing that I was thinking about when you mentioned that movie is this film, the drama, was the first time that I thought Zendaya gave just an amazing performance. Like
Mm.
like the performance that I was always heard that she could do, and how she's always billed as being the future of cinema. But and then Malcolm and Marie, one thing I did not like about it is I did not like her performance. I thought she was like kind of in over her head. She was acting like an adult.
Mm.
It was almost like I'm putting my adult pants on and I'm going to give a Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf performance. Right. So even as someone who liked the movie, do you think her acting has evolved from that to this?
Well, I don't know about Evolve because I actually did like her in that. I just think that the character is really annoying, and like they're both really annoying. That's not to cast judgment on one or the other of those two characters. They're just very annoying people, and for some reason, I enjoyed watching these two assholes go at it. But yeah, I really liked her in that, and I like her in this. I agree, though, she has not had a lot of roles that are what I'm like hoping for out of her. And so I haven't seen the promise of what people talk about with her for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, in this film, there were so many layers to her performance. I thought it was excellent. I mean, you think about either Malcolm Marie, you think about Dune. I mean, everyone's kind of doing an over serious grunting face in Dune, and then you think about even Challengers was again a film where it felt like I'm an adult and I am going to give an adult performance here. Everything, I always felt like everything was so linear in a lot of her performances, and this was the first time while watching I was like, I get her now. This is excellent. This is really good. So
that's great. Well, let's go to another piece. What do you got?
Okay, another piece is actually a film that I was on an episode from. I don't know if anybody's ever named a piece that they were on the episode for before.
It must have happened at some point.
Yeah, and it's gonna go on an ongoing conversation that we have actually had in these podcasts, where the film is Eddington, and the thing that I like that this movie does and that other films are doing that Eddington did very well is the film is calling out a regressive part of society. And in this case, it is our lust for guns and how guns are always in the air. But it will equally call out self-righteousness at the same time. So this film has a politics behind it, much like Eddington had a politics behind it, but it was not holding punches on people being self-righteous. And Rachel, played by Alana Haim, who is fantastic. I love Licorice Pizza, but this is the best performance I've ever seen her give.
She's great.
Yeah, she is outstanding in it. The reason that everybody hates her so much is because she reminds us of people who are like this nowadays, who the people who are, their opinions are all or nothing. Their righteousness is all or nothing. And one thing I kept thinking about, and this is one of the touchier subjects I was thinking about avoiding, but one thing I was thinking about was everyone's righteousness about AI that's going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I am not a lover of AI either, but when you hear people who just kind of have this all or nothing view about how evil AI is, and it could be the same people who use all of the forms of technology that do all the damage to the environment that AI does at the same amount, people who they'll refuse to eat less meat, they'll refuse to do these things that could help the environment the same way that not using AI does. If you ask them about that, they will have their excuses why they can't do that, but they're able to do this. They're able to put everything on one subject, and it takes everything off of them. And I keep thinking about the scene where it's Charlie, Mike, and Rachel, and Charlie points out what you did in your story was actually worse. And the way she's able to thread the line between righteousness is she says, what I did was out of impulse. What she did, she planned it. As if you can go to a court of law and tell a jury that I did it out of impulse, and like you're not going to get the same sentence.
Yeah, like
so
that's gonna
it's just
fucking
like,
matter.
yeah. So it's just like, it's this way that I love how films are doing this, because films were getting too, I think, obnoxiously political through their characters for years, and now these films like those two, and even One Battle After Another to a degree, they're able to have a politics with the film that does not extend to the characters, and you can even say people who agree with this in the film are on the wrong side by the way they act.
Sure, absolutely. I love that. I'm just going to jump right on top of that with my next puzzle piece, because it actually deals with the same thing. And it's actually Kristoffer Borgli's last film, Dream Scenario, with Nicolas Cage, which is, for anyone who hasn't seen it, about this teacher who just starts randomly showing up in everybody's dreams so much that it becomes that he's like a celebrity. And then what happens once he's a celebrity? He gets canceled. And then like everybody gets really mad at him, and it turns into this real funny satirical play on just where we're at as a society right now, with everybody just like really gunning for anybody who they have even the slightest ability to attack in any possible way. And it really gets to the hypocritical nature of things that I think you're absolutely getting to there with Eddington, and that self-righteous behavior of some of the people who are otherwise on the right side of history, but they do it in just such a annoying way. And yeah, I think this is something that, and I don't know this Kristoffer Borgli, like what his politics are specifically, but I think he's like really exploring some of these same ideas between these two movies, and is probably just exacerbated by like what's going on in the world.
Absolutely. One thing I thought, because he's Norwegian, and he, I don't have proof of this. I didn't see any interviews with him saying this, but my assumption is he saw this subject that he knew was touchy, but he was like, if you all aren't going to do anything about it, if it's going to be a subject that you all just simply talk about and give outrage, but you're not going to do anything through your politics, and you're still the one country where this issue just keeps happening over and over, why do I need to tiptoe around it too? Where it's almost like he's looking at that sort of like empty righteousness that we have, that empty way that we go after subjects online, but nothing ever is ever done about it. So I think that was probably his permission slip to be able to touch this, because we're not doing anything about it. So
yeah, but no, we are not. We very much are not. But let's go to another puzzle piece. What do we got next?
My next one is going to be Eyes Wide Shut, where there is something that kind of tears the couple apart at the beginning. In Eyes Wide Shut, obviously it's a sexual thing, and so Tom Cruise's exploration it has that sexual tint to it, that sexual like destination to it. In this film, obviously hers was not that, but I do feel like Charlie goes on this mission to find a truth, but he can't find it through her. We're just talking to her would be the best way. And if Tom Cruise would have just talked to Nicole Kidman, that would have been the best way. So he needs to like go find it on his own, and it leads him to a form of infidelity again. And it's almost like there's just something about the infidelity itself where it's almost like an attack on the ego is what happened to Tom Cruise, and there's something about it that's attacking Charlie. Maybe it's the fact that his two best friends just heard that he's about ready to marry someone like this, so it could be an assault on his ego, and he has to go on this mission, which then led him to strongly come on to a girl that I don't think he would have any other way. I mean, he has an incredibly beautiful fiance who he's very much in love with, and I feel like he kind of went on a little mission, much like Tom Cruise's character did.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's a great piece, and yeah, like that's what I love about Eyes Wide Shut. It's like if you would just get out of your own fucking head and just pay attention to your wife, like everything would be okay. But of course, you can't do that, and so then we get to see a whole bunch of crazy shit. So that's great. I've got one more piece here, and it's also a recent movie. It's from last year. It's called Splitsville. Like I said, another movie with Dakota Johnson here. This is a hilarious comedy for anyone who hasn't seen it. From Michelangelo Covino. It stars him, Kyle Marvin, and Dakota Johnson in this love triangle, and it's about infidelity. But basically, it's not about the thing that happened being bad. It's just about how everybody handles it and how they internalize what happened. And they're just kind of like spiraling neuroses as they like just come to grips with it. And nobody is able to kind of like work through it because they're all just so, I mean, it's a mixture of dumb, but also like an Arrested Development kind of thing. Like you said, nobody will have an adult conversation. Like they're all just spiraling basically, and it's a hilarious movie because it just keeps going worse and worse and worse, and it's freaking great to watch. But have you seen Splitsville?
I have not. I thought the trailer looked good, and I heard good things about it, but I never got around to it.
Yeah, I think you'd like it. So yeah, for anyone who hasn't seen it, watch it. It's great. But any other pieces you want to bring up here?
Yeah, I have one more. And it was one I was very hesitant about bringing up, but the end point of getting to it, I think, is on my mind too much not to bring it up, and because it's actually a movie I have not seen because it just came out, and it's the film I Swear. But more than that, it's the thing that surrounds the that film. Where at the BAFTAs last year, the subject that the movie is about yelled a racist term out loud, and it caused it caused this controversy. And it was a horrible thing for Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo. It was also a horrible thing to the gentleman that movie is about. And I remember people were going after him, and what they were saying was this: they were saying, "We understand it's involuntary, but why are you even thinking about that word?" And as if like racism isn't epidemic to our society, whether it's the USA or UK, whether it's not, in the air because of who we are, not necessarily because of the individual. And I think, we oftentimes don't want to go after a society for its problem. We just want to go after the individuals in it. And I thought of that while watching this movie. She is a 15-year-old girl who's very troubled. She's in a situation where there seems to be no outlets for her to get any help. And at the same time, there are school shootings everywhere. They're happening.
Everywhere.
It's in the air. They even say that in the movie. So for somebody, I mean, she probably goes a little bit further than some other people would, but for anyone to think about that, it is so much easier to blame the individual for thinking about it than addressing it in society. And it's so much easier to blame an individual who has a disability, like in that film, for racism instead of dealing with it in our society. And one thing kind of on this point that I thought of is when they were all giving their confessions at the table, all three of the other ones actually did something and she did not. But the other thing I thought of is like all three of them were essentially bullies in some way, where it was Robert Pattinson was literally a bully. He actually called himself a bully. Mike's character, the way a male manhandles a female, I think you can call bullying behavior. And I very much think you can call Rachel's, what she did, as bullying behavior. Hers was the other one where it was a bully thinking about fighting back, and she was doing it in a very vile way. But I just don't think that we have like that sympathy for people in a situation where they're being harassed, and if they see the shootings that are happening everywhere, I don't think I can 100% blame the character the way these characters blame her for at least thinking about it.
Yeah, well, there's no, this is a movie, and so it's actually really touching to see her as this young girl who ends up finding this community thanks to this very last minute intervention that happens just out of the blue. But in real life, there's just not an outlet for anything like that. There's nowhere you could say, "Hey, I want to shoot up my school. What should I do instead?" Like you just can't do that. And it's unfortunately, it's super black and white in the real world, which sucks, and it really doesn't need to be that way. A random tangent I kind of wanted to like get into really quick. And obviously we're two white people here talking about this, but I did see some criticisms of this movie that of all the people to have been a potential school shooter, why a black girl? That's so rare in the world of school shootings. Like, any thought on that? Because it's such a random thing. I don't know.
I in terms of like her being a school shooter in terms of her race, I did not necessarily think anything about her race had to do with that. The way that race came in my mind for this film is you had two white characters in these two couples who had African American others
Mhm.
who, significant others who they seemed to be at least embarrassed of if they weren't absolutely perfect. And I remember that one time with Rachel, that when she says to Mike, "Didn't you grow up around a lot of guns?" It's like she has this assumption about
Yeah.
it. So that was one way that was the way that race seemed to play into the film. But in terms of like her, what I just assumed was I don't know how the casting worked. I don't know if Zendaya came on board as a producer first or she came on later, but I just assumed that he wrote the role and it was not race specific. And then she came on because she
That's
was,
what I thought
yeah,
too.
the best.
Like it, yeah, it just seems like a great actress for the role, and like I just don't think that really had a play in it necessarily. And
No.
I think there even was one like little throwaway line about like how random that is, but like at least they addressed it in some way there. But yeah, I just thought
Yeah.
it was like just a random complaint about the movie, amongst many other criticisms of this movie from people who just absolutely refuse to engage in it. But
Yeah. But,
yeah,
one thought I have, I don't really have a strong point, but I guess it's the question I ask is I have, he's gotten a lot of criticism being a white male for casting an African American woman and not addressing race properly in it. And I wonder if talk like that could hurt essentially colorblind casting, where you have a situation where, like, if I am a white male casting and I cast a black female, I'm like, I don't know how I can address this correctly. I'm a white
sure.
male. I don't have this, like, I can try my best to do it and I can talk to the actress and hopefully we can come up with it together. But if I fail just a little bit, people are going to come after me. Like the characters come after each other in this movie and they're going to come after me. And I wonder, like, is somebody going to be like, well, I'm just going to stay away from, casting anyone unless they look like me because I understand that life much better. And I don't want to get this wrong because I don't want to get in trouble. So I
Yeah.
wonder if it ends up being a regressive thing by coming after it too much.
Everything is regressive nowadays. I swear.
Yeah,
That's
it
why
is.
thankful for movies like Dream Scenario and Eddington and like this. Movies that are willing to like go to these kinds of places. By the way, I was just thinking that whole I swear situation. I could picture Ruben Östlund making a movie of that, a dramatization of that. That
What,
seems like something he would do.
have you seen The Square?
Yeah, yeah, right.
Okay, they have this
Exactly.
scene in The Square where
Yeah.
they do that. Yeah, so
Yeah, it totally seems like something he would do. So,
yes, absolutely.
all right. Any closing thoughts on the drama before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, I think I've said quite a bit, but I loved it. I love that movies like this are made. I don't even care if they're uh, perfect or not. I mean, I wouldn't even say this is a perfect film. It, in certain ways that I think you could say that the subject of school shooting is used as an avatar for righteousness, and it's not the main thing. And maybe school shooting could have been addressed in a more sensitive way in a different film. But even if it's imperfect, I love that movies like this are being made, and I wish that people would have more grace, even if they don't like it, just to be proud that movies like this are being made nowadays.
Absolutely. And doing well, too. I
Yeah.
think this movie's
Hmm.
doing a lot better than you'd expect for something like this. So that's
Hmm.
pretty exciting as well. But awesome. Paul, is there another movie you watched recently you'd like to recommend to our listeners?
I am, and I'm going to use this as my plug too, because I'm in the middle of picking films for my film festival, Hysteria Fest, and I just watched a movie I absolutely love. I mean, like it is conversation building. I think close to the level of this film, and
Mm.
it'll get a release eventually. It's called Ugly Cry, and it is a movie it just premiered at South by Southwest, and it's playing at the Overlook. Film festival next, and I think my film festival, Hysteria Fest, is the third one it's going to, unless someone else jumps in the meantime. And it is about acting. It is about an actress who, she is a very talented actress. She's trying to make it, but the problem is her talent is so good that she keeps saying that she has an ugly cry when she cries. It's so big and it's so powerful, but people are like, it just looks kind of ugly and it's hurting her with casting directors. And then she has to go through this like mission to try to like be a better actor, but also make sure her cry doesn't look ugly. So she's like looking at things both internally and externally. And it has an ending that as soon as it gets released and people see it, I really want to talk about it.
Oh boy, it sounds wild.
Yeah, it's compared to like The Substance. It's more grounded than that, but the reviews out of South by were comparing it to The Substance.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll definitely be looking forward to that. Where can people find you and the fest and everything you're up to?
Just look for me. Look for the festival, Hysteria Film Festival. We are on Instagram and we are on Facebook. Our deadline is May 31st for films, and then the festival takes place July 8th through the 12th in St. Louis.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Paul, for doing the show, and we'll talk to you again sometime soon.
All right. Thanks, David.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about the drama. Thank you to Paul Hibbard for joining me on that one, and thank you to all of you for listening. What do you think? Did we spill some good tea? Was it good? I don't know what I'm saying. Also, Pete is barking in the background. Now Boof is barking. Those dogs. Now that is some drama right there. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and I hope you are subscribed to Piecing It Together because we have a lot of episodes coming your way. So make sure you are subscribed wherever it is that you're listening. You can also follow us on social media at Piecing Pod, and don't forget to join our Facebook group Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. Also, hopefully we've got another live show coming up whenever this one goes up. I have no idea when I'm releasing this episode. It'll come out at some point. So whenever it is, check piecingpod.com or my socials and you will find out. And hopefully you could win some tickets because we'd love to see you there at the movies, watching a movie and then doing a podcast right there in the theater. So with that said, let's close this off with a piece of music like I always do. Let's see, what should I play today? You know, again, I don't know when this one's coming out, but I do have a new album coming out in June. It is the score of a film called Friday and Friday from director Chris Johnson, who I've released stuff from his films before. But like I did with his album, with the soundtrack album for his film Beater back in 2020, back when I did that one, I included a bunch of bonus tracks that were pieces of music from some of his other films because we've worked on like a dozen films now already. I'm doing that again with the Friday and Friday soundtrack because we worked on 4 more films since then. So I've got pieces from other films as bonus tracks, and I'm going to play one of those to close us out today because I think it's kind of a good fit here for the drama. It is the main theme from a film called Whose Proposition Is It Anyway? A short film. It's kind of a 12 Angry Men kind of scenario, although not like jury duty, but like there are these people that are just stuck in a room and having this deep conversation and they all can't kind of come to terms with it. Similar in theme, but just talking about the big issues here, I figured it would be a good fit for the drama. And with that album coming out any day now, check bydavidrosen.com for info on that. I thought it'd be a good way to play that today. So we're going with the track Whose Proposition Is It Anyway, which will be on the Friday and Friday original motion picture soundtrack. Hope you enjoy it, and we'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
An All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.